Elden Ring, Helldivers II. I know most of you are going to be sitting there scratching your heads when I say there's a link between the two. What do you mean, Evan? Is the strangest crossover in the history of gaming about to occur? Well, yes, but also no. You'll see what I mean. Helldivers 2's rise has been swift and rapid, and that might just be the understatement of the year. The game is a flourishing community, a dedicated development team, and an innovative way of handling live service, all of which has come together to result in a game that most people just can't put down at the minute. Despite this, there's trouble in paradise, aka Super Earth. Certain elements of the community have been resorting to an undemocratic tactic in their pursuit of fun. You've all heard of Gantz the Demon, but that's not what I'm describing here. There are a number of players who are committing a cardinal sin within Helldivers 2, kicking their squad mates from the lobby for various reasons. Some do it because their fellow divers bring gear that doesn't match up to their ridiculous standards. Some do it because they take personal offense to the unavoidable act of accidentally getting mowed down by your squad mate's 380mm orbital barrage. Some sick individuals do it because they enjoy being a nuisance to other people around them. Obviously, these actions do not represent the values of any proper Helldiver. They do not represent the values of Super Earth. They go against everything that we stand for. Everything that we dive for. The game's developer, Arrowhead, is trying to work on solutions, yet it's not clear what the next best step is. Community members have made suggestions, and there will inevitably be an update which will make it harder for these undemocratic players to abuse the kick function in the way that they're doing now. In the meantime, though, there is chaos on the battlefront, and yet there is also hope. Newbies and veterans alike may not have heard of him yet. So today, we are going to discuss a champion of the people emerging in Helldivers 2. This is where Elden Ring comes in. If you haven't heard of Let Me Solo Her, well, you're in for a treat, my friend. I've already made a video which explains everything about the most legendary Elden Ring player alive, and I have a whole second channel mostly dedicated to Elden Ring content. This is the story of how Let Me Solo Her came to Helldivers 2. New orders from Super Earth just dropped, and I think you'll be pretty happy to hear these. Time to spill oil in a new location. You're gonna have to ditch your uniforms and your graphics and head into Stallcraft. Stallcraft was made by fans of Minecraft, just like Helldivers was made by fans of Starship Troopers. Stallcraft combines Minecraft and the world of Stalker into a 10-year journey of a project. PvP and PvE in the open world FPS setting with a live service of developments. Updates twice a month. A non-linear, well-developed, fascinating plot for at least 50 hours of your time. There is an event currently taking place too for the divers. Slavs versus lizards, with new skins, new weapons, and new paints. All you need to do is head to the link down below in the description, and new players will receive a good starting amount of equipment for a comfortable passage of the plot and the beginning of adventures in the zone. So, accept your new orders by using my link down below. Thank you to Stallcraft for sponsoring this video, and now, back to the diving at hand. It wouldn't be fair to say that Helldivers 2 has many issues right about now. If anything, the game is absolutely flourishing. It's got everything a healthy, young live service game could ask for. A strong player base which doesn't seem to be dropping at all, fresh content to be added to the game almost every week, talented and passionate developers who genuinely care about the game, amongst many other elements that contribute to its success. And it's independently owned, so the people in charge are gamers and not suits who just see red and green. However, there is a small fly in the ointment at the moment within the Helldivers 2 community. The majority of the player base are exemplary models of all that a true diver should be. Helpful, friendly, and only a little trigger happy when it comes to raining down hellfire and accidentally taking out their teammates with their stratagems. There is a small subset of the population, though, that have been making the experience of the game worse for everyone. We've already covered Gantz the Demon on this channel, and it's certainly true that deliberately killing your teammates for no reason is at best incompetent and at worst traitorous. That being said, new evidence has come to light which suggests that Gantz is innocent and was merely retaliating against a teammate who had killed a friend of theirs, but more on that in a future video. Regardless of whether Gantz is innocent or not, we're not covering team killing today. Instead, we gotta focus on a crime which is just as heinous in my book: kicking your squad mates. Whether it be at the beginning of a game or even worse, right at the end just before you extract. Now, this has been an issue in many multiplayer games over the years. One of the more notable cases is with Destiny 2. Not all of us have been there, but for the ones who have, you'll know what I'm talking about when I describe the crushing feeling that accompanies being booted just before you get the rewards for a cleared raid encounter. That same feeling can be felt in Helldivers 2. Imagine you fought through hordes of bugs or bots, risking your life for those sweet samples, and at the end of a 45-minute long mission, you get kicked. I think I can speak for most of us when I say I wouldn't just be losing my samples, I'd be losing my mind. And yet again, the Federacy has reminded me that there is no cursing on this broadcast. The reason for people kicking others differs. I think if someone is kicking others at the end of the game, it's just because they're immature, or a weenie, or both, to be honest. However, there are other equally stupid reasons for why people are getting kicked. One of them is the fact that players don't realize that all currencies that you pick up in-game are shared, especially samples. When you see a teammate pick up a wealth of samples during a mission, you'll be pleased to know that they're actually helping you. Some people just don't know about this fact, even though the game makes it quite clear on multiple occasions. But in all honesty, it's okay if people don't know everything about the game, and it's also okay if people don't know some basic details about the game. It becomes an issue when people react by killing or worse, kicking players because they're angry that they stole their samples or other currency. Something else which is getting players kicked is the fact that they might not be using the meta loadout. You can't see it, but I've put meta in inverted commas because the game is specifically built so that you can use multiple avenues to achieve success. Yes, at the higher levels, there are tactics that work better than others, but there are so many options if you want to annihilate your enemies and uphold managed democracy without breaking a sweat. It's fine to suggest that people consider using the stratagems and gear that you think are the most effective, but it is just wrong when people kick others from their game when they're not using the best options available. So as you can see, this is quite a serious problem in Helldivers 2 at the moment. So much so that the CEO of Arrowhead took to Twitter to ask gamers what they thought the solution to this issue should be. This became such an issue that we needed a hero, and arguably a legend from even a different game, a faceless hero, and the people's champion when they needed him most. From the depths of Elden Ring, its greatest legend emerged. Let me solo her. Many of you have played Elden Ring, or maybe you haven't. It was Game of the Year in 2022 for a reason. From Software's masterpiece is getting a DLC in late June, and I gotta tell you, I'm so hyped for that. Elden Ring is one of my favorite games ever, not least because of the incredible feeling of finally prevailing against an insanely difficult boss after hours of working out the strategy. If it's hard bosses you like, well, Elden Ring is some pretty damn hard bosses. The bosses in this game are unforgiving, brutal, and nightmarish at times, but just like Helldivers 2, you can have freedom to use whatever you want to. Bringing in the right equipment to strategize against a boss can actually do you a lot of favors. None are more difficult to beat than Malenia, and I've made an entire video on Malenia on my second channel. But for those who haven't gone up against her, just know that the fight is frustrating to say the least, and people fail a lot. Yet the person we're about to discuss is no mere mortal. In April of 2022, Let Me Solo Her became a spirit summon, which is basically co-op in Elden Ring, and helped out players against Malenia. They sat in the background while all he wore was a jar on his head, and 2 katanas in hand, didn't take a single hit from Malenia, and beat her in an arguably harder fight. Bosses get additional health the more players you summon in to help you in a fight, and there's usually desync too. So the fact that Let Me Solo Her taunted Malenia, and the fact that Let Me Solo Her has beaten her over thousands of times, is a gesture of recognition and celebration that even Bandai Namco couldn't help but get in on. They gifted Let Me Solo Her an entire sword. And it's no surprise to this day that Let Me Solo Her's story stands as a beacon of courage for all gamers who face difficulty in whatever games they decide to play. It serves as a reminder that anyone can face the most punishing of enemies and yet still triumph against all odds. So now we come back to Helldivers 2, because someone special is making their name in this glorious game. Someone who stands out amidst the undemocratic, traitorous worms and team killers with no remorse. A hero in our time of need. Our very own Let Me Solo Her. We've discussed the issues that are currently present in Helldivers 2, and make no mistake though, the player base is tough, strong, and only a little bit traumatized by the fall of Malevelon Creek. That being said, the community is trying to deal with a genuine issue, traitorous activities, and we could really use a symbol of hope right now. We could really use a Let Me Solo Her to boost morale. Enter Skull Admiral Atasu. Atasu, who is Mountain Leader 2722 on Reddit, made a post on the 11th of March, describing how he's that level 50 guy who likes answering distress calls. This absolute Chad, having achieved all that there is to achieve in the game, didn't decide to hang up his cape and wait for new content to drop. He's made of stronger, more democratic stuff than that. Instead, he deliberately tries to help struggling players by making use of the SOS mechanic in the game. Atasu caught the attention of the Helldivers 2 community and was interviewed by IGN. In the interview, he explains the ways in which he carries out his crusade, offering a helping hand to all who need it. He stated that, quote,
"If I'm doing an SOS session, I start with difficulty level 3 and 4 until level 9. If there are no more SOS signals, I will launch my own level 5 through 7 operation, so that anyone looking for a group can join us, and we can then move on to higher difficulties. Very rewarding."
He calls in higher quality weapons and equipment for the people that he plays with. He moves through the map completing objectives like a wholesome angel of death. And then he calls in the extraction shuttle so he can wait while the people he's playing with finish up anything they feel like doing. He has said that playing the game like this is, as he remembers,
being a cadet and trying to figure out how to kill a charger. Today, if I see someone struggling with something, I try and reach out and help him.
This absolute legend has already responded to over 100 SOS signals, and that number is sure to increase as the game continues to move on to its second month after launch. Of course, this is very reminiscent of the tale of Let Me Solo Her, and Klein Suboy, a godly player who is incredibly skilled at the game, joins on people who are struggling just so that they can help achieve victory with no expectation of reward or gratitude. Nonetheless, Atasu has been receiving gratitude and fame alike. Now when players see him in game, they respond by congratulating him in the text chat or emoting to show their support. This is a shining example of what all Helldivers should strive to achieve. This man is a beacon of liberty in a world darkened by those who would team kill or kick. He may just be one man, but he can serve as an emblem of everything we fight for. People like Atasu are those who make Helldivers community what it is, and if his noble deeds get more attention, I think the developers should honor the hero of Helldivers 2, the Helldivers 2 Let Me Solo Her. Remember when I jokingly suggested that there should be a collab between Elden Ring and Helldivers 2 at the start of the video? Well, I don't think that'll ever happen properly. These two games are so distinct that it wouldn't make much sense. That being said, I think we've witnessed an unofficial collaboration because of the events I've explained in this video. I laid out the problem that Helldivers 2 is facing at the moment. A plague of traitorous divers who are kicking people out of their lobbies due to rage or just sheer cruelty. We all know about the story of Let Me Solo Her, the legendary figure of Elden Ring. Well, Skull Admiral Atasu might not have achieved the same heights as the revered Let Me Solo Her yet, but he has been aiding his fellow Helldivers when they needed him most. Whether it's dropping in high-level gear or tirelessly completing objectives, Atasu is the kind of person to casually wait for his squad mates by the extraction shuttle after having obliterated most of the enemies on the map. He is a shining example of a true Helldiver, and managed democracy is much, much stronger with him on our side. Who knows where the future will take us, divers? But one thing is for sure, we got some good people on our side. Keep up the good fight, and I'll see you next time. Evan 2, signing off.